Today I'm going to show you how I made this really cool walnut and sapele bowl. I started out by cutting all the wood to the right dimensions. This was a lot longer process than it usually takes me to cut all the wood to size, but that was mainly because I had a lot more cutting to do. I decided to use 25mm thick sapele and 2 bits of walnut. I liked this colour gradient between the 3 woods because the bottom piece of walnut was really dark and the top piece of walnut was really light. The reason the top piece was so light was due to all the sap content in it. I then sanded with 40 grit paper just to remove any of the sharp edges, before cutting all the corners off the blank to leave me with an octagonal blank, as I usually do. I then started out roughing the bowl. The walnut and sapele was particularly pleasant to turn, and I'm definitely going to be turning more of walnut and sapele combination bowls, because it's really nice turning something that turns really well, and also looks really nice. So for example, some of my favourite woods to turn are sapele, poplar, walnut, and I also quite like turning ash. I sanded with 180 grit paper to remove any of the tool marks left by the round scraper. Afterwards, I moved up to 400 grit. I should actually use something like 180 grit, 240 grit, then 400 grit, so I'm not jumping from such a big difference in grit sizes, but I didn't actually have any 240 grit, so I just moved straight to 400. I then started out turning the inside of the bowl. Again, I used my round scraper to turn the inside of the bowl and used my fingers as a gauge to measure the wall thickness. It's important to get a consistent wall thickness in a bowl, as otherwise it can look a bit odd and create an odd aesthetic to the bowl. I sanded with 180 grit again and 400 grit just to remove any of the tool marks before applying some food safe finish to the inside of the bowl. I wanted to apply my handmade wax to the outside of the bowl, so I did that. As you can see, there was some food safe finish that had soaked through to the outside of the bowl as well, but I wasn't too concerned by that. So I started at the bottom of the bowl and used a bit of gentle pressure to apply the wax to the bowl. I'm going to be producing this finish very soon. I'm just starting to collate all of my ideas and get the right recipe for the ratios of ingredients I'll need to use. So if you're interested in that, let me know in the comments section, but I'm hoping to have that product ready to sell in about a month's time. The wax left a really nice look to the bowl and I was incredibly happy with how it had turned out. I buffed it off again using a clean cloth just to remove any of the bits of wax residue, because you don't really want a waxy feel to the bowl, you want it to feel smooth to the touch but have a slightly glossy finish to the outside as well. I used a little bit of food safe oil on the piece of kitchen towel just to go over any of the slight imperfections because I hadn't sanded properly afterwards. If you sand really well, it will mean you won't have to do this, because the whole point in the wax is it leaves a really nice finish to the outside of the bowl, but unfortunately I had to add a tiny bit of oil just to soak up those little imperfections. I then parted this off the faceplate section using my Excalibur tenon saw, which I always do. Although now I have learnt how to part properly, so I will hopefully be parting the bowls off rather than cutting them. I applied a bit of food safe finish to the bottom of the bowl, and that was the project finished. I was incredibly happy with how it turned out, and I hope you guys like it as well. If you guys have any questions, put them in the comments section and I'll get back to you. Thanks for watching, I hope you guys enjoyed this video.